Hey guys, what's up? It's Justin, aka Diego, and we are on the pre-Mists of Pandaria patch on live. And yes, lots of stuff has changed. What has changed? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about my overall impression too about the Paladin. I personally feel that they didn't nerf us. They just really got some coefficients, like completely lowballed them, and so my damage personally was literally cut in half. Um, I would say it's majority due to Shield of Righteousness not having its the crit proc on it now from judging or Avenger Shield. So losing that was a big part of our damage, but it still feels really low. I'll just show you right here. I used to crit with a little bit of vengeance for, I'm sure you guys did too, for what, 50, 60k on shields? Let's see it now without vengeance. You ready for it? It'll be right up here. 6k with a full, and then, yeah, 6k. So it was about 6k without vengeance, full holy power. Obviously, you can't use less than 3 holy power on shield, so, but yeah, so it just feels really undertuned right now. It feels like they really lowballed us. My other tank who tanks aside from me is a Blood DK, and we both did a 5-minute test on this dummy right here. Make sure you're doing it on one of these 85 dummies, because these dummies got buffed with the patch. By buffed, I mean they turned them to level 90s. So you will get a lot more dodges and parries on them. So yeah, make sure you're doing it on these 85s. Or some 85 dummy. I don't know where those are at. Anyway, so yeah, he did double my damage, and we're in literally like the same item level. So there's something that they completely fucked up with the math of our coefficients and stuff. So aside from that, the rotation and stuff feels good. All the theory behind it seems really solid, but it just seems like they undertuned it a little bit too much. But maybe they just think that it's going to level out at level 90, but hopefully it does, because it just feels extremely underwhelming right now. But let's talk about some of the talents. I like Pursuit of Justice, high mobility fights. These other two, we're going to briefly talk about these. These other two are just going to be situational based upon how much moving you're going to be doing. On low mobility fights, these two will have more favor than a high mobility fight. I use this for stuff like Spine, which is really good for running around and picking up all those little bloods and shit. Fists of Justice is really the only option there. In your 5-mans while you're leveling, Repentance can be good if before you pull trash, you can CC stuff. And this is really PvP. Sorry, Rep, I'm doing a video, but if you need a group, sure, whatever. So the next tier is a tough tier for me to decide between, actually. I gave Sacred Shield a lot of shit. I really thought that and unbuffed, the Absorb looks pretty shitty, pretty minimal. But it does scale, and I don't exactly know what it scales off of. I want to say it scales off of attack power. I want to say it scales off of spell power as well, because I know Holy Paladin's Absorb is a lot stronger. But it's pretty good. The way it works is you put on Sacred Shield, which lasts for 30 seconds. And then every 6 seconds, you get that Absorb to refresh. So every 6 seconds, you get a fresh 5k Absorb over that 30-second buff duration. So it's pretty cool, but it does in the raid that I was in, and my DS raid, it was at 12,000. So it was more than double what it shows right now. So I don't know exactly what buff. I want to say it is attack power and spell power, so it will scale with vengeance. So it is pretty good. I don't know how it's going to scale at 90, but I completely underestimated his talent, and it's actually semi-decent. The only bad thing about it is it does not stack. So if you are running with a Holy Paladin who's going to be putting this on you, there is no reason to spec this talent. The only reason would be is if there's going to be 2 tank fight, you have him do the other tank and you could do yourself if you are going to expect this talent. Eternal Flame, you see there, replaces Word of Glory. It's the exact same thing as Word of Glory, except you get a little hot at the end. And that hot obviously scales up with how much holy power you use, and scales up with your vengeance and stuff. So that hot increases. The heal is exactly the same as Word of Glory. So all that really means is that if that hot is going to be useful, meaning that you're going to be taking persistent like AoE ticks or something, and you're always going to want that hot rolling on you, because the hot does last, you see, for 30 seconds, so it is quite a long time. So if you always want to that hot slowly rolling on you because there is persistent AoE damage, Yeah, that Eternal Flame will be pretty good. Otherwise, if it's just no persistent AoE damage, just like spike damage here and there from a big hit or whatnot, I could see Sacred Shield, maybe even Selfless Healer being good. Selfless Healer is all right with it fully stacked and the extra 35% per stack. It heals me personally for I think somewhere around 16k. I think it's higher than that. But yeah, it could be decent, assuming that you won't need the hot from the Eternal Flame. But I still like this talent. It's pretty good because of the Vengeance, and obviously having Bastion of Glory buffs it as well too. Talking about Bastion of Glory, let's just bring that up. Bastion of Glory, every time you use Shield of Righteousness, you get a Bastion of Glory stack. Obviously, you'll see there it increases the effectiveness of your Eternal Flame / Word of Glory by X%, whatever your mastery is, and that stacks up to 5 times. That can heal really, really hard. With Vengeance and 5 Bastion of Glory stacks, you can see upwards of 200k heals non-crit. So it is pretty good for some burst healing. And again, Word of Glory, Word of Glory and Eternal Flame had their cooldowns reduced significantly. It's only 1.5 seconds now, which basically means you just have to wait for one GCD. You just use one ability and you're able to use it again. So it's pretty good. And then the what last tier we're on? I like Hand of Purity. The other talents are just kind of situational. If you're going to need to bubble twice, we talked about this already. Clemency is just kind of like, it's really only there for the extra Hand of Sacrifice, which is a pretty good cooldown for Holy Paladins. It can be very good for Ret Paladins as well too. So just another cooldown they could put out to help ease some damage on some other raid members. Hand of Purity is strictly just situational. Any fight that doesn't have any dot that's very dangerous, it will pretty much be worthless. So it'll probably be a toss-up between these two most of the time. I was just trying this out. And then Divine Purpose, Sanctified Wrath, and Holy Avenger. Let's talk about those. I'm just using Divine Purpose right now just because I like the extra... the chance to do extra finishers, which I usually use on Shield of Righteousness until I get my 5 Bastion, and then I'll deem to use it either on a Word of Glory, or if I'm at good health levels, I'll just use a shield. But Sanctified Wrath is also good. They changed this. It actually now increases the duration of Avenging Wrath by 50%, and for protection, you get increased healing for 20%. So I forget exactly how long it lasts. Just what is that, 20 seconds? So 30 seconds? Is that math right? Anyway, so yeah, so for that long you get extra 20% healing. So obviously you're still going to want to use it predominantly to open up with threat. Make sure you secure a good threat lead because, like I said, damage numbers are low for prots right now, so getting your initial threat can be kind of tough depending on if you're able to hit with your opening spells. But being able to hold on to this later and have another cooldown amongst these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cooldowns, so you get a 6 cooldown, it is pretty good. And then you even, I guess if you want to count Bubble's not really a cooldown because you don't really want to lose threat on the boss or make it attack someone else, but it can sometimes, depending on the fight, be a cooldown to wipe debuffs. But so yeah, and then Holy Avenger, this is kind of like Divine Purpose, except instead of a proc, you have a guaranteed holy power generation every 2 minutes. It does increase your threat a little bit, and being able to use like a generator then shield, a generator then shield, a generator then shield, can really help out with that initial threat burst. I just don't see it being very good after you have your threat lead, and once you got a good amount of vengeance, I don't see it being that good because healers still do a pretty good job, or still do a pretty good job of keeping your health level. So I don't really see you having, after you have your vengeance, needing to use Crusader Strike, then Word of Glory, then use Judgment, then Word of Glory, then use Crusader Strike, then Word of Glory. I don't really see that playing into effect because you don't get any benefit from overhealing now. Back before this patch, you got a shield for the overheal from Word of Glory. Now you don't. Now it's just a wasted overheal. So I don't really see that's probably going to be the least attractive to me. So when we're beating on a dummy, let's talk about some of the stuff that's changed. Shield of Righteousness and Eternal Flame / Word of Glory are both off the GCD. So what I'm going to do right now, we're going to get 3 Holy Power. I'm using Nug Combo Bar. And then we're going to use an ability, and then I'll click Shield Righteousness right afterwards. So you're able to use it just right off the bat. I got my Demoralizing Shout. Uh, that's the thing that is put on by Hammer of the Righteous. It's called Weakening Blows. There we go. It used to be called Demoralizing Shout. Anyway, so that's what we got. You want to make sure that you're always tracking that, and that whatever you're attacking has that debuff, or whatever's attacking you has that debuff on it. That's really the only type of debuff that you want to make sure that it's always on the boss. Other than that, you pretty much use your single target abilities, single target wise. But basically, the way it's going to work is once you get your threat lead however you can. Get your 3 holy power, use shield. Use shield as much and as often as you need to make sure you have a good threat lead. But after that, it's pretty much just health management. Since you don't get any benefit from overhealing yourself, you pretty much, if you're at sufficient health levels, you just want to use your Shield of Righteousness. And you want to make sure. I personally like having 5 holy power, and this is why. We'll just go through an instance. Okay, we're at 5 holy power, and I'm at full health, so I shield. So right after I shield, I take a big hit for whatever, and I'm at 50% health. Now all I need to do is just use 1 GCD and wog myself instantly because it's off a GCD, and wog myself, and I get like however the big the heal is plus my Bastion of Glory stacks. And then what happens is you just go back through generate and you try to generate your full 5 holy power again. But during this 5 holy power generation, if you do take a big hit, don't feel bad in using a Word of Glory to keep yourself up. Yes, you do get you get a buff when you use Shield of Righteousness. If you don't know this, I'll use it and you'll see this buff up here. Shield of Righteousness buff, it reduces damage by fucking 54% for me. It does scale off of, I'll show it to you one more time. It does scale off of your mastery, so right there. So you do get a buff from that, obviously, but if you're at really low health, being able to heal yourself for a significant amount, whatever, hopefully you got some Bastion of Glory stacks, but being able to heal yourself is more important than that 3-second buff. Especially if you have 5 holy power, because then you could heal yourself with that having 5 holy power. We'll talk about it right now. Okay, 5 holy power, I could heal myself, and then I'm at cool, so now I'm at full health, and I could just generate 1 more holy power, use Shield of Righteousness if I wanted to, and get my damage reduction buff that way if you want to do it like that. But I just personally like holding on to 5 holy power and just using health management with my rotation. So obviously, one more time, if we're at 4 health, we're just going to Shield of Righteousness and then build back up to 5 holy power. And during that build as well, during the 2 to 5 build, we could use Word of Glory during that time if we do get low. But yeah, that's basically that's how I use the rotation. Yes, the Shield of Righteousness is good for the buff, but it's not more important than being at low health to get that short buff and taking a big hit that still really hurts you and making the healers have to work to heal you. It's just, unless you have a cooldown up, I could definitely see having a cooldown up and then using Shield of Righteousness with low health. But still, just keep an eye on what your current health levels are at. Keep 5 holy power after you've secured your threat lead, and then just use your brain. If you need to heal, use the heal. If you don't, use the Shield of Righteousness. It's basically that simple when you dumb it down. The hardest thing to get used to is just the shield and wog being off a GCD for me. But yeah, so that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. But next time I will catch you, and we'll probably be doing some raids maybe next video. All right, later, bye.